Hello and welcome to today's video. This time we'll be taking a look through my vintage paperback and book pickups for the month of April 2024. So sit back, relax, and let's get to it. Okay, so most of what you're going to see today is what I got from my friend Dorset Bob, but I did get a few other bits that I won at online auctions on eBay and places like that. So we got a fair bit to go through today, but not a massive haul. But I wanted to sort of clear the decks, as it were, before the London Paperback Show, which is in about a month's time as I film this, May the 25th in actual fact. Now I am on holiday that week. I'm actually going to be in France. However, I'm back for the day before the show, so I will be able to attend along with my friend Bob. Now, this one here, this is a new edition from 1962 of X113. So this will be the first time that this particular book had this cover. And I'll just go through them, check to see if there's any pencil markings needed taking out. There's a little stamp in there. And then I'm going to give the tops a brush. So we'll do these sort of paperbacks first. This is a nice Foursquare. Frederick Brown. It's got Josh Kirby cover there. You can just see the signature down the bottom. Pretty abstract for him. This is Foursquare 709. Can't remember if this one is a first or not. Yeah, first Foursquare 1962. And that is absolutely perfect. We may be lucky and not have loads to do today, in which case this will be a reasonably short video, considering some of them are a couple of hours or so. This is X174, The Descent of Venus. This is a pan I didn't have at all. And my friend Bob bought a that's a first, bought a really nice collection off eBay. This one's got a cover by Oval. And they were in tip-top shape, and some of these are, if you can believe it, some of his rejects. The copies that he's kept for himself are in even better condition. Another Georgette Hare, The Conqueror, X151. This is a film tie-in. It's been a while since I've had any new additions to my pan collection, so I've been pleased to get these. That one's got a little 49p in, so we've actually got some work to do here. Thankfully it's in pencil. So I hope you've been able to keep up with the latest videos on the channel. There's been quite a variety of stuff lately. Bits on Agatha Christie. Recent eBay sales, including that amazing heritage auction sale of the original artwork. I don't know if you saw that. And I also saw on that eBay video that another copy of Junkie had turned up, which was absolutely amazing. First one in a long time. I do have a saved search for Digit Junkie, but I believe as soon as it got listed, someone must have spotted it and got lucky and just bought it. $695. Oh, there's another bit of pencil there. So that says 311. So that may just be that it came into the shop on the 3rd of November, and the shop were keeping a little idea of how long it had been on the shelf, so that they knew potentially if it was unsold when to return it. Because most books back in this period were sold to bookshops and newsagents on a sale or return basis. So anything they didn't sell, they could always get back to the publisher, so they weren't stuck with stock, and they could replace it with new books. I've still not actually got it out. It's actually really, really deep, but I can only rub the one way here. I think that's about as good as we're going to get it. There we are. Okay. Yeah, so that was another new one for me, that. This is a penguin. So this is one that I got off Joe Pearson. Joe has been selling some bits and pieces on eBay. And this was an Egyptian penguin. So these were printed during the war for British soldiers that were stationed in Egypt. And this is famous one-act plays. This is Penguin 252, published by Middle East Publications, The Mosques of Cairo. And you always find these, or when you find them, they've always got yellowed pages, simply because of where they were printed. And this one's got £5 inside. I paid slightly more than that for this one. I think I paid just about just over £20 for this one. So quite an expensive book, but at the same time, you don't see the Egyptian ones very often. I've got about 12 now, which is about halfway, almost, of all the Egyptian ones that we know of that have been published. There's a couple of collectors that have got the set, but this is, the giveaway is for sale price in Egypt and PT6. But yeah, a very unusual little bit of Penguin history, that. And she's got a 12 in the bottom here. Not sure where that came from, but we'll get that out as well. Some of these books are going to be bagged up at the end as well. Although I don't think I'll be doing much in the way of polishing. I think we don't really need to today. But we'll see. We'll see. The Scotty Book of Space Travels. This is by Arthur C. Clarke. Scotty was like the junior imprint of Corgi books. So they're the smaller format, much more similar to an American Ace or Avon or Dell book, those early ones. And this is a factual book on space travel. He did something very, very similar as a Pelican. But yeah, Scotty edition 1957 by the SF author there. Chairman of the British Interplanetary Society. Would you believe it? There we are. Yeah, it's nice there. See, that one, to me, it does actually, I think that's the first book that I think will benefit from a little bit of a polish. So I will put that to one side. Now, this next one I also got from Dorset Bob. It's a number I haven't got. It's a Ballantine 472K, authored by Arthur C. Clarke. But it is a reprint. But it's got that amazing wraparound jacket, which I love. And it's almost like a Ballantine hallmark, that. But yeah, it's the second print from February 61, which is a little frustrating because I do generally only collect first prints. But I think this is a reprint with a unique number. So in a way, it's a first thus. And almost certainly it's got a different jacket, but I'm going to still try and track down a first printing of this one. She's all right. It's got a little bit of wear in that, but it wasn't expensive by any means. So that was all right. Now back to another pan here. Mark Clifton, 8 Keys to Eden, X353. A few bits and pieces in there. Got like a bit of spider web on the edge here. I've got £1 inside on this one. I think that was worth £1 of anyone's money, don't you? I'm not missing much pan science fiction, but this is one I didn't have. Don't know much about the author, Mark Clifton, but there we are. Now, what were these bits that were inside it here? So we got a bit of scribbling. And what's this? We regret we are unable to deliver Newsweek this morning for reasons beyond our control. We shall deliver as soon as possible. Greenard and Son Limited. So it's like from your local newsagents, that, isn't it? Maybe they were expecting a delivery. Well, I don't know how I'm going to live without my Newsweek. Right, another Foursquare, same author. Look at that, Mark Clifton. When They Come From Space. Now, this is Foursquare 1128. Pretty nice copy here, this one. Now, is this a first? No, this is a reprint from the same year that it was published, but quite a nice one all the same. It's all right. Right, another new pan for me. Cast of characters, Al Morgan. A bitter close-up of the Hollywood jungle. Wow. It looks like the Batmobile's parked behind him, but you can't quite see the Batmobile. It's probably just a Cadillac. Hollywood premiere, most glamorous spot on earth. G481. Well, this is one I've never seen before, so very pleased to get this. First print from 1961, was that? Yeah, 61. Just got no marks inside, just a couple of turned over pages here, which we'll try and sort out as we go along. Yeah, that's nice. The Seductive Mirror. Okay. Once again, it's not one I recognise. G379. That's nice, isn't it? First print, 1960. It's a really, really nice one, that. I can't see... Oh, it's Hans Helwig. I was going to say, I couldn't see the signature. Yeah, Hans Helwig, very, very faint. Down the bottom there. Here's a nice Avon book. Now, I really, really like Avon titles, particularly when they're in high grade. Now, this book here is an Agatha Christie, Avon 690. It's a reprint, so it's not the first printing of the Big Four, but it is still a very, very nice condition copy of this American one. You don't see the American ones that often in the UK. So though it's a reprint, 7th Avon printing, I'm more than happy to have this one. I got it from Dorset Bob. He had 15 on the inside jacket here. It is absolutely tip-top shape. Yeah, there we are. Very, very nice. Yeah, that's a beautiful book, that one. So this is one I got off eBay fairly recently, The Big Eye. And it's a Boardman book, and there is a particularly stunning American edition of this one. But there we are, this is Boardman. They didn't do a lot of science fiction, in actual fact. It's got a bit of marking on the back, so that's going to need a polish as well. So we are definitely going to need to do a little bit of polishing today. But yeah, there's not a lot of Boardman science fiction. So, I mean, I do really, really like the publisher, but they're not like they turn up all the time. But they are nice when they do. Quite collectible. Published in TV Boardman Books, 1954. There's a few on the inside there. Great, great jackets. Generally speaking, they've got really nice jackets. That one is a bit dirty and grubby. It was only £2.50, so I'm not complaining. But yeah, that's a really nice one, but that's going to need a polish as well as a brush. Now the next two pretty much are a bit of a pair. Look at that. The Weird Shadow over Innsmouth and the Dunwich Horror. And these are both published by Burt House in the States, which was a very minor American publisher. It wasn't around for very long. They only did about 40 odd books, really. There's not a lot to them. But they did 2 H.P. Lovecraft, which is fantastic. There is another one from this sort of period I'd like to get by Lovecraft to finish the set, but it wasn't published by Burt House. So this is Burt House number 4. And that, I just think, is absolutely gorgeous. And these, I've been on the lookout for nice copies of these ones for quite some time. And then they turned up as a pair in eBay America, ebay.com. So that's where I bought them. Copyright 1944, Bartholomew House. Look at that. And that is actually, I got to say, that is, as good as I could really hope. It's not mint, but it's very, very nice indeed. I'm very, very pleased with that one. Nice spine on it. That's gorgeous, isn't it? And this was one a little bit later. This is Burt House number 12, Dunwich Horror, also by Lovecraft. Slightly different dimensions. It's not quite as wide, but that was just a reflection of when these were being published. I'd say this is slightly lower grade, ever so slightly than the other one, but I don't mind. This is absolutely fine for me. I'm not looking for perfection. An Evening with Lovecraft. Very cool indeed. Look at that. 1945. There we are. They make a lovely pair, don't they, those two? You've got to say, they are gorgeous. So I shall be bagging those two up at the end as well, because they are just very, very nice indeed. And I think I've got just one more vintage paperback. Let me just grab that. Yes, vintage-wise, it's this one, which is a Faber paperback. They did a few science fiction paperbacks. They didn't do a lot in the way of paperbacks per se. They were more a hardback publisher, certainly when this was being published, but they did do some science fiction. So look, you've got these ones. Best Fantasy, edited by Aldous. Non-Stop by Aldous. Introducing SF, Best SF, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, edited by Edmund Crispin. And you do see those Best SF books, but they always turn up in quite low grade, so I've turned them down. Certainly Morris has got quite a few of them. So this was first published in 1965. This is the new and revised edition in 1971, and then this edition in 1972. So I'm assuming this is a first thus on this one. And once again, that is going to need a little bit of polishing on. So that's all sort of the vintage paperbacks, and now we've got some more modern paperbacks. So all these modern paperbacks, these all came from a little haul I got from Dorset Bob, and they're all part of the Glance SF Masterworks series. This is a Golden Age Masterworks, we've got a few of those, and then just part of the regular Glance SF Masterworks. And I believe that these should all be pretty much brand new and unread, because that's how I like these particular books. But we will just give them the double once over as we go along. So it's got a little £3. The £3 price is pretty much what Bob charges for these. That's what he sells them for. I'm not fussed if they're first printings or reprints on these, but I noticed this one was a first print. As you're probably aware, the Glance SF Masterworks came out in black covered ones, which we'll do that next. They were these black covered ones with a number on the spine there. There has been a few reports that some of these black covered editions have been reprinted without a number, just to confuse collectors even more. Yeah, I just think the black covered ones are just better than, you know, the jackets just are more striking than the later ones, which are, here's an example of a later one where they've almost got this yellowy orange tint, where they take the original cover and tint it up, which is a little bit weird. But I'm picking up the library. I think it's 198 of them, something like that, just a touch under 200. No new ones in 2025. My friend Richard Rempel over in Canada has done a few series on these particular books. The series to get is 10 hardbacks, which are absolutely beautiful. It's 10 absolute classic, the cream of the crop science fiction books, and they are in hardback jacketed SF Masterworks, and they are lovely. Now, some of the books, like this one here, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, Glance, this is a PAM book and always has been since it was first published. However, Glance allowed it to be reprinted as part of the SF Masterworks as long as it was in hardback, and that's exactly what they've done. And that was the same with a few, like the John Wyndhams that have been reprinted in the series. You can get them in hardback. The same with June. So there's a few books like that. I don't know if Bob put any sort of premium on this. Yeah, £4 on this one. For the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Absolutely great book. I remember when it was published and loving it from those early days. I don't think I ever heard it on the radio, but I remember the book being an absolute phenomenon and watching the BBC TV series of the first and second books and loving it. There we are. So yeah, so some of them you can only have in hardback, and that's typical of Dorset Bob's quality. He's got some absolutely beautiful books, and I'm assuming that almost everyone who's watching this video has seen that video where we toured Dorset Bob's warehouse, because he recently had an incredible, well, he had 3, in actual fact, incredible science fiction collections come his way. And I was there just after he'd pretty much finished sorting it. So I do count myself lucky as being in the right place at the right time. And I was able to film the whole lot. So Time Machine, absolute favourite of mine. I really, really love it. This, War of the Worlds and The Invisible Man are all great books. Very, very thin. See this? Yeah, first. This is a first as well. No price in that particular one. Star Maker. And I'll tell you what, this is a cheap library to pick up. I bought 10 books from Smycle Books online. And if you buy, the books are all brand new, and if you buy 10 or more books, they work at about £3 to £3.50 a book, and it's free postage within the UK. So I very, very much recommend them, and you get them within about 3 days. Absolutely fantastic. I've had 2 hits of 10 or 11 books from Smycle Books in the UK. Recommended. Just go to their website. They have got they've got about 40 or 50 of these SF Masterworks. So worth looking at. John Ford, Growing Up Weightless. What I've found with these is although a lot of the books, I'd say probably at least a quarter of these books I've got in some other form anyway, in my collection. Having them in these beautiful editions, they've all been reset. They're really, really gorgeous to read. There's no eye strain there. They feel fantastic in the hand. And I just think they're some of the best editions out there if you wanted to read classic science fiction. It's the Lensman ones. I imagine these are probably quite common. Whether I'm ever going to get around to reading these Lensman ones again, I don't know. I mean, I read them years ago. But there's so much classic stuff that I never ever read, and that is sort of my priority to read right now. The stuff that I feel like I've missed out on, really. Gwyneth Jones, White Queen. Yeah, no marks on that. I'm still going to give all of this stuff a little brushing off. Earth Abides. Still haven't seen the new TV adaptation of this yet, but it's on the list. Now that's the first one we've looked through where the typeface is not that nice. It's really sort of dark. It's like that's been lifted from somewhere else, isn't it? That is weird. That's the first one of these Masterworks I've come across that's like that. Most of them have been so nice. It's like it's set in a particular printing, isn't it? I'm just seeing if it actually mentions it. No, it doesn't. Anyway, supposedly an absolutely fantastic book. It's probably the one I'll be reading next in the Masterworks. There's another Golden Age. As I said, the library itself, I reckon out of the 198, I think I must be at, with all this lot, I must be at about, I reckon about 70 or 80. So I'm well on my way, I would say. And the last one of these is John Brunner, The Shockwave Rider. This is another one, look at that. Not particularly nice text. The text block is really weird. I wonder where that's come from. See, the start's absolutely fine. I wonder why that's been lifted from somewhere and just whacked in. Not so nice, that. That's a bit of a disappointment, that we found 2 which didn't quite look like they've been reset, because that is a real hallmark of this series, about how nicely they've been presented. But there you go. It's all a learning curve. Right, that's it for the SF Masterworks. Now we've got some larger format stuff, and then we've got some hardbacks as well. So I've got a couple of vintage Penguin stock catalogues. This is from August 1959. And if you have been watching the channel regularly, you'll know I'm a massive fan of this sort of stuff. And I've amassed quite the collection of it. But there was so much produced, I mean, there really was, that you're never going to get it all. but I don't like to turn it down when I come across it. And I just think this sort of stuff is absolute gold. I love it. I love it to death. So that's a book's in print for August 1959. Another one here for very similar for December 1959. Looks almost identical, but there'll be a few changes, of course. So those two go together for 59. And I got this one here, Pelican and Penguin Classics, ready for October the 29th, 1959. So this is specifically for 1 week. And Pelican reprints, another Penguin Classic, number 31. And on the back there, 10 puffins for the National Puffin Week. And plus some puffin reprints, crime titles, and new penguins, brand new penguins. This was the time when My Family and Other Animals by Gerald Durrell was first printed, October 1959. Penguin 1398. Very cool. I just absolutely love this stuff, and that's particularly 1950s. That one, isn't it? That really is 50s design. This here is so 1950s. I love it. And then I got a couple of Penguin stock lists. This one is Penguins in Print from February 1976. I mean, it's really sort of past my prime time when I'm collecting Penguin, but still of interest. Just looking at the index here. Yeah, novels, short stories. Obviously, we're into ISBN at this point. So they do break down the crime separately. And science fiction, that's what I was hoping. So let's have a look here. So the science fiction there is, the Penguin Science Fiction Omnibus. So it had been omnibused by this point. They put the 3 editions in, and look, they got J.G. Ballard. They've got the 4 there that have the Alan Aldridge jackets on them. Yeah, Philip K. Dick, Philip Jose Farmer. There we are. And John Wyndham. Very nice, eh? Very, very nice. But no surprises there. We knew all of that sort of existed. And then also from 76 is their stock list from April 1976. So this would be, what would happen is reps would go in with a copy of this into a bookshop, and then they'd say, right, what do you want to top up on? What sections? And they'd go through and they'd make a note of all the bits that were missing. And this would basically be sent off to Penguin HQ, or the rep would phone it through. And they would order their stock against it. And there were many shops that just stocked every Penguin that was in print. Particularly even in the 70s and 80s, those shops existed. Not today, of course, but back in the day, they did. I mean, I remember starting in national book selling in 1992 for the chain Dillon's, and Dillon's had a bay dedicated to new Penguins, and Penguin paid to have those in the front of the store. Yeah, interesting times. Right, now I've also got a couple of graphic novels. Now these are Titan books, and they were Garth, and these are reprints. So this is the original Frank Bellamy newspaper strips. I've never read these. I really like Frank Bellamy's work. So the Titan books are most famous for their 2000 AD and Judge Dredd related reprints, but they did other things. Did stuff from Battle and Charlie's War, things like that. And I've got volumes 1 and 2. There's the Garth checklist. That's when they were all printed. Yeah, printed in the Daily Mirror. It's got a little introduction there. Nick Landau, who was, I think, created Titan books. And there's volume 2, covered by Ian Gibson, the late Ian Gibson. It's more of the same. Beautiful artwork. Really, really nice, these. I don't know why they're not printed online, to be honest. But they're absolutely fine. They're just going to need a bit of a polish as well. So they're going to be to one side for polishing, along with those other few paperbacks. And this last large format book is this one. It's one of those ones from Dragon's Dream that were very popular in the 70s, 80s, and even into the 90s. This one's on Chris Foss. And he did many fantastic illustrations. And when I've got a bit more of a collection of this sort of book, you'll recognise some of these. I'll do a dedicated video on them because I think they're going to be fascinating to look through. They are still around and they're more common than you might think. Less common in hardback. So if you see them in hardback, this is a book club, but this may have been the only way it was put in hardback. So if you see them in hardback, I would say pick them up, particularly if they're cheap. But how cool are these? I think they're fantastic. Very, very cool. Right, so that's that one. Once again, I give that one, once I've given it a brush off, I give that a polish. And then to finish off, before we do the actual cleaning, the final bit is I've got some hardbacks. Let's get them out now. Right, so when I was at Dorset Bob's, I was able to grab 6 hardbacks, and I picked up 2 glance hardbacks by the very prolific author, Peter Haining. And one of them was this one, The Shilling Shockers. And all I'm going to do on these is brush the tops in a moment. The wrappers are generally protected, so I think this one might be possibly an ex-library, but I can't do too much with that. I've actually bought it to read, you know, it's not like as bought as a collectible. It's just a book that I really fancy reading, and it was really cheap, so yeah, it's an ex-library, this one. But that's absolutely fine, so I'll give that a little clean in a moment. This is another one by Haining. I don't think this is ex-library. No, it's not. It's got a little 608, whatever that is, in the corner. 608, don't know, but we're going to get rid of it. There we are. And yeah, this is like, you know, penny dreadful stories. You've probably heard of those. And once again, this is just going to need a bit of a brush only, just along the top edge, to get this one looking nice and clean. This is the stories that were contained within. I'm sure it's a really good selection. Yeah, 1972 this was published. Oh, 1975. Oh yeah, 75, yeah, I've just misread it. There we are. So yeah, so once again, all that's really going to need is just a brush along the top in a minute. And then I've got 4 other books, which are all part of a series. And it's the History of the Science Fiction magazine by Michael Ashley. Now, these were from Bob's personal library. He's having to slim down a little bit. And Dorset Bob knew Mike Ashley very well. I believe he's still around. And Bob got his set signed by him. So once again, all I'm going to really do with these is just give them a little brush along the top, and then they'll be fine. I'm not going to rewrap them. I'm fine with the way that they've been protected. They've done the job. And once again, I'm going to very carefully read these. I've read the first 2 in paperback anyway, but volumes 3 and 4 I've never read. So I'm going to be looking forward to that. And these are all the first print hardbacks, and there we are. To Bob, a real moment in history, Mike Ashley. So, of course, Dorset Bob himself would go to all the shows and conventions back in the day, 70s, 80s, and 90s, really. And he would see these authors, and he got so much signed. It's just incredible. He really took the opportunity to get as much signed as possible. So that's exactly what he did with this set. So these are really nice New English Library editions. And there we are. To Bob, a second moment in history. So, nice association here. Part 3. Now, 3 and 4 I didn't have at all. So I was really, really pleased to get hold of these ones. I don't know if they were ever put into paperback. They were re-released, I think, later on. And even the re-releases are expensive, but they don't include the stories, which these ones do. But they do include the text. The actual sort of history of the magazines. Here's volume 3. And to Bob, this was the hardest of them to write. There you go. Absolutely very, very funky jacket on that one. And then the last one is the final one, part 4. Sadly, he finishes just before he goes into the new wave period, say 65 to 69, which would have been amazing just to finish off the set. So there was never a volume 5, which is a real shame, because that would have been a very, very interesting book indeed to finish off the series. There we are. But finish it up to number 4 he did. And what does he put there? To Bob, the one that got away, here's to the 5th. Well, yeah, sadly it never happened. It never ever happened. 1978 for that one. But yeah, very, very cool. A great, great set to have. I'm really, really pleased to have this particular batch. I think they're excellent. So right, that's all the books. So we've got a little bit of brushing and polishing to do to finish off. Okay, so I can't imagine these are going to want much because they look absolutely immaculate. So, but I'm going to do them all the same. I just like to give every book the once over before it goes into my collection. But these are not going to need much at all. The older books, however, that's a different story. Okay, now if we do these hardbacks, I think I'm going to take the dust wrappers off and just do them that way. I think eventually I will replace the plastic covers that Bob put on these. I think they've been on for many, many decades because they are starting to age a bit. And I use like the Mylar sleeve dust wrappers, very similar to how Bob's done these ones, but they will really accentuate the books themselves. But that's just taking off what I think is an important layer of dust and dirt on these. That one wasn't too bad. See, they will vary quite a bit, these, you know. It's certainly nice to get some real quality science fiction reference works in my collection. That's nice with the funky board there. Look at that, the gold on the side. That's really nice, isn't it? Yeah, New English Library were an underrated publisher. They did do some really good stuff, some real niche stuff. I know their paperback list is a little bit sensationalist. Is that a good way to describe it? But at the same time, they published people like Stephen King. They did all the Edge books, loads of science fiction. They can't really be knocked, can they? The early James Herberts, of course. I suppose that's some of their more well-known stuff. But so many other series that they did, which are very, very popular. And they would certainly jump on any old bandwagon that they thought might make them a few pounds. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that if you're a publisher. You have to go with what can make you money, you know? But yeah, I certainly wanted to clear all this lot before I went to the London show, because last time I came back with a box load, and hopefully it'll be exactly the same this time round. I'll get another box load of goodies, and that will probably be a video in itself, you know. So my paperback finds from the paperback show. Right, that's those. Now we'll go on to some of these more delicate paperbacks. Some of these it'll be worth doing book by book. That was particularly dusty, wasn't it, that one? Boardman. That wasn't too bad. I said these Faber ones are hard to find in nice condition. Now the 2 Bart House books, I think they look quite, the top edges there are pretty nice, aren't they? I certainly wouldn't say they were dirty, but they've been done all the same. In fact, I should have done this Agatha Christie at the same time. Once again, next to no dust coming off there. So that's a sign that they've been well looked after. And in a way, doing this slightly smaller selection is a little bit easier. Sometimes if I'm doing 2 months worth, the videos end up going on for hours, and that's just too long. I think an hour is probably enough. But if you do like these longer sort of cleaning videos, over on my dedicated cleaning video channel, book cleaning channel, there's a whole load of them. There's a whole channel full of them. So if you fancy a bit more cleaning action, where I'm going back over my old collection, bit by bit, book by book, series by series, that's where it is. Lots coming off the Egyptian penguin, as I knew it would, but that's looking a lot cleaner now, that Egyptian one, than it did. Just a tiny examination there. Yeah, it's not coming away, it's not ripped, but it is coming away slightly, the spine. And the last of these paperbacks, there we are. Then we just got those 3 larger format books to do. We'll do the Chris Foss, because that is fairly straightforward. I don't think that was too bad, in all honesty. The 2 Titan books, slightly different. I'll do them together because they are the same dimensions. Actually, they're similar, they're not the same. But no, they were actually all right as well. They weren't too bad. Right, just a few bits now to polish to finish off. Okay, so before I do the polishing, I'm just going to bag these books and seal them up. These are the most delicate stroke valuable ones of today's haul. I've got a sign on the need to be really exact on these. There we are. Very, very nice. And these are just standard vintage paperback bags. There are wider ones which are digest size. You can get these from Dorset Bob, that's Mr. Book 451. I usually put a link to them on Amazon as well. So either or, you'll be able to get them. One or the other. Certainly, they come from China. Well, they come from America, but they're made in China. And Dorset Bob is attempting to import some himself direct from China. So we might be able to get this quality bag, which I think is absolutely superb, slightly cheaper, which will be amazing. That is, God, it's just darn right gorgeous, isn't it? I think. I think it's a good idea with the more collectible or valuable paperbacks. It is a good idea just to pop them in that little bit of extra protection by popping them in a bag. Plus it really accentuates the jackets on them, makes them look, you know, stunning, I think. They're not miler bags, but they are, you know, very, very good. They're almost like my lights in effect. I think they're just gorgeous. And I have done some of my series. I've actually started doing every single book, you know, like my penguins and that. But because the bags are a bit short of supply at the moment, I haven't gone mental. I always want to keep a few back for these sorts of books. But they are very, very nice indeed. Always pleased to get another Egyptian. It's like, you know, a few a year. And I seem to be making some progress on them. There we are. So yeah, I think those look rather gorgeous, don't you? All bagged up like that. Very, very cool. And then that just leaves the polishing to do. So we'll start with the big eye. And there's me polish. And I got some Mr. Sheen. Someone suggested on my other channel that Mr. Sheen should be sponsoring me, you know, and I don't think that's a bad idea. So if anyone's got a contact at Mr. Sheen, do pop them my way, okay? See if they can, see if we can do a bit of a, this video is sponsored by Mr. Sheen. That'd be good, wouldn't it? Now, since I last did one of these, I have relaunched my channel merchandise. So underneath the video, you might see a link to TeePublic. Ignore the prices that YouTube print, because when you get to the TeePublic website, you'll find that the actual t-shirts and stuff are much, much cheaper than what YouTube are publishing. They also do some great designs. They got mugs and all sorts. But if you don't see anything that you like in my particular store, even if you buy anything else from anybody on the TeePublic website, I will get a small commission back. So do please check that out, because there are some really, really nice funky designs there. Also, if you want to support the channel, I'm trying to do a members only video once a week. I'm not 100% promising that I'm doing it every single week, but so far I've only missed 1 week out of 8, so it's not too bad. It's a pretty good success rate. And they're just sort of more behind the scenes sorts of things. So where I sort of chat to my Patreon supporters and YouTube channel members. If you can afford to support me from just £1 or $1, which is what it is at the moment, please do, because you'll get your name in the credits, and it really is helping me keep the videos coming, basically. It does take an awful lot of time, as you can imagine. But, you know, obviously I love it. It is my hobby, making YouTube videos, and sharing my collecting hobby with you is fantastic. So it's nice to get some money back and be rewarded, in effect, for all the time that I spend making them. Absolutely gorgeous, these books, aren't they? I've got a few now, but there's an awful lot of them. I mean, there was loads. I remember I used to sell them in my shop in the 90s. These particular books, we didn't have loads, but we had a pretty good selection of some of the better ones, the fantasy art ones. But the specific science fiction ones are the ones that I'm most enjoying, you know, rather than fantasy art with buxom women on you know, panthers and stuff like this. You know, the science fiction ships, that's what I really like. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed today's video. I said not quite as long as some of them have been, but I think it's just about right for today. If you have enjoyed today's video, do please give it the thumbs up. If you've not already, do please hit the subscribe button for many, many regular videos every single week. And I shall see you again very soon with another video. There we go. Bye.